Season's greetings, everyone. I'm Fonzo. I am the builder, photographer, and artist behind 505 VW Bus. I'm located here at the Desert Southwest headquarters for the North Pole, also known as Albuquerque, New Mexico. Shout out, what? You know it. Today's mission is I'm going to show you how to put holiday lights onto your vehicle. Cool part about this, it could be your Barbie Jeep, it could be your summer yacht, could even be your Ford Pinto. No hate, had one in high school, great little car. Not enough appreciation out there. So whatever you're driving, I'm going to help you hook it up. This way you can spread some holiday cheer in your town, wherever you are. So I'm going to go through different kinds of light. I'm going to go through the cost. I'm going to go through the power consumption. I'm going to go through considerations for mounting. Safety comes first overall. I want your car to stay in the condition it is right now and not to be barbecue. We'll leave that for our stomachs later. Going to go across with a little bit of technical information. I'm also going to have some very basic, I'm going to try to make some metaphors and make things easier for you to understand. The purpose here is that by next year, with the help of this video and your comments, questions, input, I can make the most comprehensive video on how to do this that's out there, that's available. So I'm going to need your help. I've had about 6 years of knowledge. If you go down to it, I spend probably 2 months every year studying, focusing on it. So the last 6 years, 2 months, I have like 1 year of knowledge. But in all honesty, I started off not knowing very much, and I took my time to learn, and I made some mistakes. I also made some success. So with that balance there, I've got to where I am, and most of the information I have here I've gone through, and I'm pretty confident in presenting it to you. If I get something wrong, please do call me out. I'd rather have the right information than the information I believe is right. So if we can go from there, I'm going to run across all these different lights here and the power options, and please do comment, participate. I'm not afraid to take any criticism, and I'm definitely not afraid to take any positivity. I love that, actually. So where we're at is that I plan on, with the camera, coming down here, looking at this stuff down here and zooming in on the things, showing you specifically what's going on. And then we're going to probably go outside to the bus or the Bug, maybe the Saturn. Not too sure. As the weather, it's been kind of weird outside. So I needed to get this video out because a lot of people have been asking for it, and I would prefer that they had some info rather than none. Just because I'd like to have the most info, I was gonna never get that video done. So this is part one. Part two should end up being really awesome. I think I've talked enough for now. Let's go ahead and get right to it. Okay, here we are. It's 120 lights versus 20 versus 10. The cost for LEDs is a little bit higher initially, but after a few years of use, you get the savings back in the lack of electricity that you consume, and you'll also have the relief of knowing that you're not going to drain your battery as fast if you had used the cheap lights, because the multi-colored incandescent lights are marketed as the $1 and $2 lights, $3 lights. They're really cheap, but you pay for them with the electricity in the long run, and the hassle of the filament and the bulbs burning out is ridiculous. With LED, you get longevity, you get initial cost, but you recoup that in the end. So it's a 120 versus 20 versus 10. Then we come down here and we take another step, and as you saw, these used 9 watts of electricity for 120 lights. Well, down here, if you doubled it with 18 watts of electricity, look at what you get. 500 LEDs. You get 150 foot length. You get 10 strings. It's beautiful. 18 watts. It was 1.7 per strand. It's twice as efficient as the first generation model. Those came out, like I say, around 2005, and these ones are from about 2014. As we go along to over here, I got some C6s. These are a little bit bigger, a little bit brighter. They are 60 LEDs per strand, 20-foot strand, and they consume 3 watts apiece. Those are really nice. They are strong light, and price is usually pretty good. And over here on the right we have the programmable DMX style, pre-programmed though. They're pre-programmed. You don't get to select the program. There's other models where you can have the little remote and change them yourself. These ones here I got for such a good price I couldn't pass on them. They're literally like $5.50 a box. So retailing for $25, I couldn't pass on them. They're really nice lights. But those are modeled after the C9. As you can see the size of the bulb, they're meant to look like and copy like the old vintage giant bulbs all of our grandmas had and stuff. So okay, so one more message here was that the idea I'm showing you the watts is so you can decide when you get your box of lights, what are the specifications on the lights that you purchased, and how much electricity is it going to require for you to run your setup. So what I'm doing here is I have these cards here in the center to let you know kind of like a rough average that 8 to 10 watts is like leaving a map light or a dome light on in your vehicle. That you could pretty much leave on for like 1-2 days solid and not even really notice it. 100 watts is pretty much like a set of headlights staying on, and we all know about leaving your headlights on. You can't leave your headlights on all night without the car running. It just won't work. So the idea here is that if you're getting up to 100 watts, you're gonna have to think of it as your headlights on. If you're doing a parade, the cool part is you keep your headlights off and you just put your parking lamps on. You already subtracted the amount of electricity you're going to use for your headlights and replacing it with your lights on your car. So it's kind of a neat little setup there, and then you also don't blast the people in front of you with light. Option there, but just so you can have an idea that headlights use 100 watts. So the whole idea here is I don't want you to get 10 of these cheap strings of light and end up with 90 watts and only have 200 lights. I mean, our Twinkle Light Parade requires that you have 400 lights on each vehicle if you're going to have a vehicle, so you wouldn't even qualify and you'd already be maxing out your alternator, especially if it's an older vehicle. If you've got a newer vehicle, you're kind of still okay, but I don't like pushing it. So that was just a heads up as far as what these numbers mean, how they correlate. You're going to want to keep your watts low, and you're going to want to maximize the amount of lights you can get for those watts. So back to this, we want to come to these current lights. You can get 500 LEDs, 150 feet, and only use 18 watts. It's just beautiful. Okay, so one more time to drive the point home. On the left, have that little string of 20 lights that are really cheap and look like a good deal. Right now they're running 8.9 to 9.0 watts. I'm gonna go ahead and plug in that pile of lights next to it. Let's just unplug that. Zero out. .3, 9.4, 9.2, so you can see where it's floating around. 182 lights versus 20. There's your 18 watts, 18.4. So that whole lot is using the same amount of energy as that little thing. Stay away from the cheap incandescent lights. I don't care if you get them for free or not. They're not going to help you. You're not going to get the desired look. If you're doing just a small amount of them, maybe 3 strands of those little ones, that's perfectly fine. I don't know how grand you're going to do your setup, but if you're looking at doing more than 100 lights, get only LED. Okay, so let's tell them about these tapes here. Alright, so pretty much the #1 tool, blue painter's tape, available anywhere. If you can't find blue painter's tape, I just can't help you. So that's the number one item I use. Regular masking tape, sketchy. This stuff will stick a lot, leaves residue if you get any moisture right away, but it's very, very, very secure, whereas the painter's tape is a little bit more tender. So what I always recommend is that you wash the vehicle, clean anywhere, make sure you wipe down where you're planning to attach the lights, and you should be able to get away with the painter's tape. But if you need a secure place, like to maybe hold the battery packs really well, and you somewhere on the undercarriage or whatever, you can use this stuff. Just don't complain if it gets on your paint. It's kind of weird and it's hard to get off the glue. That's how it's going to go. The green tape is another one of the, very similar to the blue tape, a little bit stickier. If you can get any of these for cheaper or whatever, I'd go for it. But just don't use clear packing tape, duct tape, aluminum tape. Really, this just holds everything up. I've gone 60 miles an hour on the freeway with the lights and everything stays just fine. So I would stick with those. If you can use zip ties anywhere that you can, use them. They're great. Magnetic hooks, those are also really cool. Get these at hardware stores, big box stores, tool depots. Binder clips, regular office style binder clips, great, different sizes. Our Volkswagen bus has a lot of drip rails and edges where these just grab right on, and they're just great. They grab a good bite. Also, paint issues, if you like, you can use the suction cups with the little hooks built in. You don't put a lot of tension on these when you're mounting the lights, because these will tend to pop off if you ask them to hold too much. So what I like to do is use these in conjunction with a little bit of tape, and you can get away with minimal tape, using these as pretty much holders or guides. Depending on what you need, you're going to have to figure it out on your own. But like I tell you, blue tape is the number one tool. After that, use what you can. When you're placing the lights, you're going to want to just pay attention to how the doors open. You might not even want to mess with the door area. If you have any real legit questions and you're trying to do it now, just send them to me and I'll respond right away. It's kind of hard for me to be specific without showing you, and I didn't get the chance to get out and put it on the bus to show you physically. And I want to just get this video out. So if you need any extra help, just go ahead and let me know, and I'll tell you from my best opinion what you need to do. But as far as mounting, this pretty much encompasses all of the tools that I use to mount to the vehicle. I will say the clear packing tape does work good on the glass, and especially the weather stripping. On the buses, the blue painter's tape does not stick to the weather stripping. So if you want to stick to weather stripping, I would use a little bit of the packing tape. You can just use it in small amounts, and on the glass in there, it comes off easy. On the paint, not at all. So that pretty much covers the hooks, the binder clips, the magnetic hooks, and pretty much anything. If you can find a way to do it, it's up to you to find out what works. I've tried a couple things and they work, so that's why I'm passing on what I understand as decent tools to get the job done. Okay, so we have here is the inverters. This is the power source for typical home plug-in equipment. Now, what's going on here is I have a very tiny one. This little one right here is an 80-watt continuous inverter. It plugs into your cigarette lighter, aka accessory port. Only creates 80 watts of continuous power. That's the most important thing. There's going to be two ratings on inverters. Same thing with car amplifiers. You'll notice that there's going to be a continuous or an RMS watts, and there's going to be a max. And the max is, I'm not going to get into it too much, but it's pretty much irrelevant. Let's just stick to the continuous, because that's the most important. That's what you're asking for. Continuous amount of power. So At 80 watts, what I like to do with something even like this is I try not to run it over half or maybe 60% of its capacity. So this little 80 watt unit, I'm not going to push it over 45 watts. That's like just pretty much limit. 40, 45, 50. I mean, it says it can. I don't like to push them because they overheat, they shut down. My circumstances is when we're in the parade, I can't afford to have anything shut down. That's the time for us to be glowing. So I like to be safe, and I'd rather not be sorry. So this is back to the importance of having LED lights over incandescent. This group of lights I have right down here, we went over those ones. Those are the 1.7 watt per unit. I got 10 units down there, and it measured out at 18 watts. So right there is 500 lights, and you could double it. Let's make it 1,000 of those lights, and you're going to consume 36 watts. That little unit is not even going to sweat. It's going to work all night long. As we went on too, 100 watts is pretty much like leaving your headlights on. So you're going to want to have your engine running if you're going to be running 100 watts. If you're running less, you can actually sit with it off for a while. Like you can go to dinner. I have a huge battery like that Group 29 battery back there that actually has decent capacity, so I can leave the lights on while I'm having dinner at 100 watts because I have enough reserve capacity to have just enough battery to start it up. So there's the little one. It can pump this out. I have the setup with a accessory port just to the positive and the negative of this battery, and this is just simulating what you have inside your car or in the back of your van or whatever your vehicle is, whatever you got. Even if you don't have one, you can do like I did and just buy this little clamp-on unit. If you're gonna need to extend it, you're gonna want to use bigger wire. It's a little bit more complicated, but let's just stick with the simple setup for right now. Next to it is a 400 watt. It says it's max 800, but back again, the continuous power is what matters. This little unit was nominally more expensive, like we're talking about $5 to $10 more. This little one tucks away and hides real easy and is just ready to go, but this other one can actually operate a couple more things and give you a little bit more cushion. Of course, over here to the left is the monster. This is the kind you need if you plan on operating, say, a drill or anything that you think that these little ones could do, because then these little ones have these little plug-in sections, and just because it plugs in doesn't mean it'll operate it. Let's just keep those little light duty ones for lights. I would never ask them to do anything like run a blender, a toaster, coffee maker. That's what the big boy's for, and it's designed for that, and that's what you're going to need. It has huge power input need because you're asking a lot of power to be converted, and that unit right there, brand new, is like a $120 item. Not that big of a deal. This little unit here is, like I say, around somewhere $25, $30, and then this little unit here is usually in the $15 to $25 range. If you needed to split it because you like to have a charger, these are also available. It's like $5. It's one accessory port that turns it into two, so you can plug your inverter into one port and your charger or whatever accessory you use in your car, like a dash cam, I don't know, something like that, into the other port, and you won't be asking too much of that port. Yeah, so there's the 3 different sized inverters. You can get whatever you need. All honesty, if you get efficient lights, you can get away with this little one. It makes for easy cleanup, easy use. Alright, Scone, let's explain it. All the information I'm giving you is to use at your discretion, also at your own risk. I will not be held responsible for you screwing something up. I would not mind being held responsible if you do something really awesome. So if you could like, share, comment, pass this to your friends, help me make this next video the best one that's on the internet. And as far as I'm considered, this is fun, but you cannot complain if local officers would like for you to turn it off, because letter of the law says that it is illegal. But if you have events in your town that coincide with reasons why you would put lights on your vehicle, they're almost always lenient and willing to let you drive home with them, let you go to the store, do what you need to do that night, but don't expect to be able to drive every day on the road with them. It's just not going to happen. We've seen it ourselves. It's a distraction, and that's not good, because especially now with the age of the cell phone, everybody wants to get their cell phone and take a video rather than focus on driving. So it's just another format, and we've seen it ourselves, so we know to be cautious with it as well. And if you have any questions or any comments, or I got some information wrong, or you'd like to help me get it right, or you'd just like to blast me, go ahead and comment or message here, or however you get a hold of me, at 505 VW Bus. Go ahead and hit me up. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and here on YouTube. So if I can do anything else for you, let me know, and have a good one.